Hustle fam, we are back with another amazing episode. And today I have a very, very special guest, Mrs. Toni Tovi?
Yeah.
Toni Tovi.
Toni
from
Tovi.
BrightFlag. That's a great name, by the way.
Thank you.
Toni Tovi. Is that a real name?
Is my
born
married?
Toni Tovi?
No. It was really Toni Grishman, but I married somebody with Tovi, and I mainly just married him because of the last name. So
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was
so
a
it's
win-win.
like the four-letter thing?
Yeah.
Very good for branding. Right?
People love it. Yeah, either
love
sounds
it.
like a politician or a stripper. You know, I like politicians, so we'll go with that. But yeah,
Right.
But-
Here today represents
next on stage, Toni Tovi. Just kidding.
representing BrightFlag.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what you guys are doing for the industry. Well, first of all, welcome to the show, Toni.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here, being our guest for today.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about BrightFlag, just to put it in context, and then we'll kind of get into the origin story and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So BrightFlag was founded in 2018. Currently, we have 45 recruiters on staff. We are all U.S. based, and we primarily recruit in the FedEx and Amazon space, but we also have outside carriers as well, and do a lot of recruiting for diesel mechanics and operations managers, anything that's really like linear in the logistics space. And we just really love what we do. And I think that makes it a really enjoyable thing. So.
Okay. So you said you recruit for the FedEx and Amazon space. So when you say recruiting for that space, are you saying drivers?
Yeah.
Who are you recruiting particularly?
Mainly drivers. So Class A CDL or non-CDL drivers. So they have a final mile space, and then they also have a line haul space. And so we recruit drivers. They're W-2 employees of the entities that are hiring us to find the drivers. So we're basically just the kind of the vessel, the conduit between people looking for a job and then the people who need people to drive for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me how this idea came about to start this business in 2018.
Yeah, so by happenstance, I don't know, whoa.
It's a big word. That's a big word for this early in the podcast. You gotta warm it up a little bit.
Apparently, I went super southern there, and I'm from New Orleans, so I don't even know. It just happened. Maybe I stroked out. But by happenstance, I came into a private equity company not too far from where we're filming. And they had a pretty diverse portfolio, and some of the investments they had were in FedEx routes. And so they owned 4 separate entities. They brought me over to run those operations, kind of everything from AR to AP to payroll to bookkeeping to operations, hiring, firing, getting insurance for them, just everything that you can think of. Ran those successfully for 2 years. And then my partners wanted to divest and sell those and go into something that was a little bit less hands-on, less boots on the ground. At that point, I had kind of already established a proof of concept for hiring drivers that really worked within our 4 operations, and had already made just a lot of friends in the space that were other contractors in the same markets that we were in. And so my husband and I kind of talked about it and just kind of felt led to start a recruiting company that was really focused on helping small businesses find and retain the best drivers, and then really helping drivers find the best fit. A lot of times drivers feel like they're being kind of like misled or lied to. And so we really try to take an approach where we hear it from their perspective. And I think that's really been one of the defining things about BrightFlag and why it's been able to grow so organically over the last several years.
Got it. What is the biggest challenge when you're starting a recruiting company, or what was the biggest challenge for you? I mean, you did start with a network, so that was a plus, I guess. But
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I think just not being aware of how to scale, growth trajectory, pricing models. I mean, I was so undervalued in what I was charging people. I mean, it was quite a steal. I had a really weird pricing model where I was charging hourly and people were paying it, but I think it's because they trusted me, which is really hard to do over the phone. So pretty crazy how that grew. But I think you just don't know what you don't know. And just made a lot of mistakes along the way on how do I grow and which silo do I grow in, and like, what am I good at, and what's the low-hanging fruit that I can outsource. I think one of the biggest challenges as a new entrepreneur is you don't think that you can be replicated. And you're afraid to let go of some of the pieces that you've been holding on to and doing yourself, because it's kind of a one-man show. You're wearing all the hats and you're almost a generalist in a way where you're just doing everything. And so finding out what pieces can give you that time back to where you can focus on actually scaling and growing your business and having the time to be able to sit and think, okay, what is my next venture? Like, how can I get to the next level and not being inundated by all the mundane tasks and just knowing when to start offloading those and how to get that help was kind of the biggest challenge for me. It really took a long time to relinquish that control and believe anybody else could do it as good as I could or would care as much as I would about my company.
Yeah.
But I think that once you find your tribe, it's really, really easy to start relinquishing that and then just start growing and building. And that's kind of where the magic happens.
Got it. So you'd say BrightFlag serves majority drivers, right? Or
yeah.
How is the business broken up in terms of who you're serving in the recruiting space?
Yeah. We're paid by our clients, but we always teach our recruiters that without our drivers, we don't have a business model. So we approach it from two different perspectives. Like if you go on our Google reviews page, we have 400 and something reviews. And I would say 75% of those are from drivers. And most people in business would want the reviews from their clients. And I do welcome those and I do want those because those are people paying my bill. But more importantly to me is what is the experience of the drivers?
Right.
What are they feeling like they're getting from utilizing BrightFlag services? Are they just another number? Are they just another Social Security? Are they just another seat to fill? Or are they being heard? Are they being listened to? Are their needs being met? And when you approach it from that perspective and you build a company that's based on that culture, I think that is where you start getting the clients going, I want someone like that to represent my organization because I know that when that driver comes over, I'm going to have to worry a lot less about attrition and turnover because these drivers are really from inception getting the true facts about what this job entails, good, bad, or otherwise. Yeah. And so they know what they're coming into. And then we're doing a really great handoff to that client. And so they feel like they already know the culture of the organization they're going to work for. And so it's kind of like a matchmaking service. And that's what I really like about it. That's the part that makes me feel fulfilled. I like cash and checks, but I also like helping people help themselves get a job that's going to be able to support them, feed their family. That's like being the hands and feet and being able to have the platform to do that and create jobs and help people get those jobs and jobs that they want and jobs that they're happy in is fulfilling on a different level.
We are here live at OTR Solutions HQ. I'm here with my partner, Jonathan. Man, listen, factoring is an integral part of the transportation industry. Why is factoring important?
Absolutely, Ramel. In this economy, in this market, cash flow is king. Cash flow is the key to growth. If you have a young trucking company or if you've been in the industry for years and you want to take that business to the next level, we're absolutely a company that can help. So I hope you'll give us a call today. Let us know what we can do to help you out.
Get the rest and roll with the best. Let's go. Got it. Now, are the drivers on BrightFlag's payroll or are you recruiting them for the...
No, they're all W-2 employees.
Okay.
For the companies, for our clients.
Yep.
Yeah. So they'll come to us and they'll say, hey, I need, 4 OTR drivers that are going to run, for a week and a half and they're going to be unassigned and this is how much they're going to get paid and this is the average miles and this is their truck and we'll go out and find those people and they know exactly what they're getting and then we'll present them and they say yay or nay. And if they say yay, then we process them and get them fully onboarded to where they can be in a seat driving for that company.
Has that always been the business model?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So why does a company or why do your clients hire you as opposed to looking for drivers by themselves?
That's a good question. I mean, a lot of people do it themselves and will use us just kind of to subsidize their own internal recruiting efforts. Our model is kind of we just meet people where they're at. If this is something that they've been doing, but they feel like their time is more valuably spent working on and not in the business, then this is, like I said, one of those pieces that they can learn to outsource if they find the right partner to trust. And if they know that I'm trying to find drivers that are going to be the best quality fit for their company, that alleviates so much pressure on them because without trucks and without drivers, they don't have a company, right? Yeah. And I'm solving for a very important X, which is the driver piece of it. On the other flip side of that, sometimes they do it and they just realize I'm not good at this. I'm really good at the financials. I'm really good at scaling. I'm really good at looking at other growth opportunities. and how to, elevate my fleet or how to have a better safety culture. But talking to drivers really isn't like my thing. That's not my wheelhouse. And I'm not, relating to them, or I'm coming across in a way that doesn't translate. And so I would like to have a professional do this because they can talk that language. They can talk about dropping hooks and penal hooks and, butthead and deadhead and all those things that, sometimes business owners that come in with the capital don't really know about and maybe don't have the best acumen to speak on. So
you guys started in that last mile niche, right?
Yeah.
And you haven't really moved out of that space, right? Do you guys do like traditional, like trucking, like OTR and all that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, so what happened was we started obviously in the final mile space.
Yep.
So the FedEx network is comprised of about 6,000 individual owner operators. They call them independent contractor service providers. But what's really interesting is most of those, I'd say 75% of the network is a P&D, the home delivery side, the final mile.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot more pie there. So that's kind of where we started and got our foothold, obviously, in first. And then a lot of people, once they own in that final mile space, they start getting like excited and they realize, ooh, more risk, more reward. So they start getting a line haul. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted a resource that could, be in both lanes. They didn't want to have a recruiting company that could just do final mile and have to find somebody else that could do OTR truck driver recruiting. So I had a client and I said, why don't you teach me everything you know about recruiting line haul? I'll do it for free for you for a few months, learn the terminology, learn it. Be able to diversify my offerings, and you get free recruiting. And so we did that. And then once he felt like I was worthy to be paid, probably a better deal for him, then, I just started offering those services, and little by little people heard about it. And then we just grew our brand. And now we have, I would say 50-50 on our line haul clients versus our final mile clients. And I love it. And it's such a different niche too, because I feel like with the final mile, it's so physically intensive that it's kind of like a revolving door of hiring. It's almost like everybody that owns that, a lot of churn. So everybody that owns that is basically a glorified staffing company. Where line haul in Class A, you are always having to like find drivers. But if you find the right ones, they're looking for that forever home. They're looking for a place where like, their name and like, they got 4 kids and that they're from New Orleans, and they love that like relationship. And if you treat them right, then they stay for a long time. And so you really don't have all that attrition unless you're just growing,
Got it. Talk to me about your recruiting process. How do you guys, what's your process you take the drivers through? What is the driver's journey when they first start to interface with BrightFlag, and how does that look?
Yeah, so what we do is the first thing we offer to any client, whether they're going to use us or not, and if anybody just comes to us and they want to understand their market, to see where they stack up in terms of cents per mile or daily rate or bonus offerings or any of that stuff, we do a free market analysis. So I came from multifamily, and we always had to look at comps and things like that when we were looking at different Class A properties to invest in. And so I just took that and brought it into recruiting. And so we'll run comps in that market to look at unemployment rates and minimum wage rates and what other carriers that are offering similar jobs to you are paying, and what kind of bonus structures and incentives and health benefits, and what kind of trucks are they in. And so we'll present that to clients that are looking at coming on with BrightFlag so that they know where they stand in their market. So they can see that they're not at the ceiling, right? And just bleeding unnecessarily on payroll and margins,
right?
But they're not at the bottom to where it doesn't matter how much ad spend they invest in. They're never going to get the visibility because, they're 5 cents, per mile lower than everybody else.
Yeah.
So I love to present that information first.
How do you get that data?
Research. I have 5 years of it compiled, and I have kind of a heat map that tells me like areas based on how challenging a market is based on those demographics. And so I just have that data, and we refresh it every 6 months in different markets. So like if you come to me and you're like, hey, I'm in Rifle, Colorado, how hard do you think it's going to be for me to staff 2 team drivers that are going to run dedicated to Tracy, California? I'm like, give me your comps and let me look in that market, and I'll present that to you. Yeah. And then sometimes they go with us, and sometimes they just use us as a resource just to get that information. But it's
how accurate is it?
Very accurate. It's in real time. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Based on,
that's very like important data, like
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
That right there is like worth the price of admission just to have that data. Like
And
you
it's
said.
free. And it's free because I feel like sometimes, like, you know, I don't think we're the cheapest in the business and we're never going to race to the bottom on our prices. But one thing that we can do to offset that is be a value add and to constantly offer free services that are going to help you be successful. So I feel like if you are always trying to give that to people, then, you know, you're going to get that back in some way, shape, or form. So we do that market analysis. We understand, and that helps our recruiters too. So it's kind of twofold. It's not only helping the client to understand where they're at, but it's going to help me understand like what my recruiters are up against in that market. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
if I know that that's a really highly saturated market where, you know, everybody is paying top dollar and the topography is really challenging to navigate and the inclement weather is really, really hard to drive through in 6 months out of the year, like I know that that's going to be a challenging market. So I want to be able to set my recruiters up for, you know, the best possible outcome and giving them that information and being able to talk through that with our client to see if there's anything that they can do to put themselves in a better position to be more viable as an offering. That's a win-win for both of us, right?
Yeah, because it takes some convincing probably to the client sometimes because they have a number, right?
Yeah, they do.
Where they want to be.
Yeah.
Then you have to convince them where they need to be.
Yeah, and sometimes I have to decline, you know, opportunities because I just don't think that we're going to be the best fit based on their parameters. And if there's somebody else out there that can do a better job or do it cheaper or can work within the parameters that they've set, then by all means, I want them to have that.
Yeah.
And I'll be super transparent from inception about that. But yeah, so after we do the market analysis, then we send them a questionnaire that asks them all the intricacies about their operation, their runs, their days and hours of pay, and what kind of trucks they're in, and is it new, and is it old, is it automatic restriction, you know, all the questions. Excuse me.
You're good.
And once we get that information, that data back, we create ads. We send it over to them for approval if they need us to redline or change anything we do. And then once they feel comfortable with that, we place those ads. And then we start calling and vetting those drivers immediately based on the requirements of the carrier, their specific runs, you know, DOT regulations. You know, some people need 3 clean years of MVR. Some people just need 1 full year of tractor trailer experience, whatever the stipulations are, we work within those parameters. Then once we have a viable candidate, we present that person to our client. If the client goes, yeah, then we go background check, DAC report, MVR, PSP, FMCSA. We do everything.
Got it.
You know, if they want a 9-panel.
Drug and alcohol testing?
All of it. Yeah, all of it. And then once they've made it through that gauntlet, and we're attaboying and attagirling them through that entire process because it is kind of, you know, a lengthy process. And you know, other people are coming up and saying, hey, like Swift's like, I can hire you in 3 days. You don't have to wait and do all this stuff. And I'm like, just be patient, you know, the pot of gold's on the other side. So we are really good at cultivating that relationship. So we don't lose those drivers in that process of waiting for, you know, their employment to be verified. We're really proactive with like getting that stuff done as quickly and efficiently as possible so that they can be in a truck running and making money. And our client can be making money too. And then that client gets to decide if they want that driver or not. So we do all the sweat equity on the front end. And if at the end of the day you say, hey, Toni, I really don't like that guy. You know, when he came in for his interview, something was off and I don't feel like he's the right fit culturally. I say, all right, well then I didn't do my due diligence properly and we replace that with a different driver for you until we get the one that you think is going to be the best fit for your company. Got it.
So you guys don't really carry a pool of drivers. It's more so you're recruiting in real time.
We are recruiting in real time and we do have a database over 1 million drivers. But I don't like to tap into that because I don't want to like harass those people. I want to use that as infrequently as I can, which you'll be like, why? You have over 1 million drivers. But the reason why is because if you inundate them, you know, they kind of opt out of wanting to hear anything. So like, unless I have something and I'm in a really challenging market and I really feel like I have something that's something that they're going to want, then I reach out to those people because I have all those metrics and all those KPIs that have come in when we've, you know, scraped all that data.
Right.
But I really try to be strategic in how we utilize that database.
Do you have any data on like how long your drivers last with the customers, like your retention and so forth? Can you speak about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of our drivers, if they make it past, I like to say the 30 to 60 day window, they usually stay on for at least a year or two. And so if you have somebody, I mean, I know this sounds, you want people that stay on for, decades, but if you have somebody running consistently for a year or two, you're making money off of them.
Right.
So it's worth the investment. We typically know within the 30 and 60 days that they're going to work out. It gives them enough time to kind of be out there doing their run, getting to know the company's getting to know them. And if there's any red flags, we see that really early on. But sometimes you just don't know until they're out there. People say they want to do a PM night shift, and then they get out there and they're like, man, I'm too old for this, or I actually really don't like the night. I just took this because, I was looking for something else in the interim. And we don't catch that, but that's just people not being forthcoming in the beginning. But we really try to mitigate all of that from the beginning and really pour into them in those first initial conversations so that we really know what they're looking for and try to pull out of them if this really is something that they want or if this is just something that you're trying to do in the interim. So we don't waste payroll dollars for our clients and don't waste my recruiter's time because that stuff's expensive.
Yeah. Once you engage with BrightFlag as a client, is it over once you find me a driver? Mm-hmm. Is there like a continuous, like you're checking back up on me? Like, do we have a continued relationship? How does that work?
Yeah. So being in the position I was where I knew our margins were pretty thin in our operations, having a recruiting company that was charging me a monthly subscription every month was a little unpalatable. Some of my operations could sustain it because they were large enough, but some of them were small. They were 8 to 10 trucks, and so they couldn't. So when I started BrightFlag, I took that into mind, and I really wanted to create something that just met carriers and clients where they were at, whether they had 5 trucks, 2 trucks, 60, 100, and they could use us as they needed us. So it's basically what you've said first. We will help them find what they need in that moment, and then they just contact us when they need help again. Some people consistently use us month to month and all throughout the year because their operations can sustain that financially. And then some people just call us when they need us, and we're happy to do those one-off, two-offs. Like nobody's too small, nobody's too big. Most of our companies are mid-size, but I love people that are just coming into the industry. I love helping them and like getting them staffed and making them feel like they have the best foot forward to venture into this new avenue. So.
Yeah. Making sure that your compliance is on point is an integral part of any trucking related business. Today, I stopped by my friends over at FLEETDRIVE 360 to talk about what they're building to make sure that you can run a successful trucking company.
And it's everything from the minute you decide you want to hire somebody through maintaining all of your FMCSA compliance documents for ongoing fleet or owner-operator truck business. You've got a driver hiring and recruiting module where you'll create driver qualification files, import digital documents. You've got a drug and alcohol module where you can schedule pre-employment drug tests and manage an ongoing testing pool. We've got an accident registry so you can keep your mandated accident logs and even schedule follow-up drug testing for post-crash. We've got vehicle maintenance logs so you can not only maintain the compliance status of your vehicles, but also upload your work orders and compliance-related documents so you're audit ready when they come in. We've got a document repository, fancy words for digital cloud storage of any document that you want, not just necessarily the compliance documents, anything related to your business, post-crash videos, performance evaluations. And then finally, you've got the dashboard. And the dashboard's the most important part. You can close your eyes and glance at our dashboard, open them, glance at the dashboard, and immediately know whether or not you're compliant or not, both on a driver, company, and vehicle level.
It's one-stop shop for all your compliance needs.
Are all those preliminary costs, are they passed through to the client, like the MVRs and the drug and alcohol testing, PSPs? Yeah. Are you guys paying for that and then passing them through, or how does that work?
Yeah, so on the FedEx side, it's paid through by FedEx corporate as being an individual contractor. The contractors pay it back in their contract, but not upfront for every driver.
So everybody feels okay in that situation. Yeah.
On the carrier side, it's been mixed reviews. I mean, some people want us to pay for it and then just let them know what it's going to cost. I mean, a PSP report's $10.
Yeah.
A drug test, we work with Concentra and LabCorp, so we can get it down to $15. If they have a place that they want to use that they have a better rate with, then we'll just utilize whoever they're using and just run the reports under their their company and under who they use.
Yeah.
The point is we just want to do it for them. So when they think about recruiting, they think about it in a turnkey solution. And it's not disjointed where it's like, okay, here's the lead, but I haven't talked to him, or here's the lead and I've talked to him and I vetted him, but now you have to do the rest of the process. It's like when you come to us, we can do,
You're good.
we can do all of it. We can do just the front end vetting. We can just do the processing. We can do the whole gambit. It's really whatever you're looking for. And if you want us to use our process and pay our prices, we're very upfront what those costs are. And if you want us to go through your channels, we'll do that too. We just kind of
whatever you need. I mean, because those costs can add up, right? Like at scale, especially if the driver makes it to a certain point and they're drug and alcohol tested, they're this, they're that. You've run everything on them, background checks, and you spent, whatever that amount is on that driver. And then the client says, I don't like them.
Yeah.
All that money is kind of down the drain, and you start the process all over again. That's why I asked.
Well, one of the things we do is we run that PSP first, and that gives a lot
of information early.
Yeah, it gives a really good indication of work history and roadside, like what they're doing in terms of positives and negatives. And so I really get a really good snapshot into what they've been up to for the last 5 years and what kind of employee they've been without having to dive too much into everything else. So, and that's $10,
Got it.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, and plus we also will present the contractor or the client with the driver that we're thinking about doing all of that with. So they'll have, their resume in front of them. They'll have the reference checks. And so they can say,
they'll feel good about them already.
Yeah. They can say, yeah, I like this, or no, I really want some more experience on this side or with this specific endorsement, or, running, more regional or running more local or doing more drop and swap, whatever it is.
Right.
So
do you guys have any specific hiring criteria, or do you go with your customer needs?
It's all the customer. We will consult with them on what we think is best. We always try to present it from like a safety culture perspective, because if your drivers are safe, then you're going to be saving money. Your drivers are going to be in a better position. It's just all around a more holistic approach. Some people really don't care about safety. Like I'll approach it to them and I'm like,
unfortunately, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we should do this drug test, or we should do this FMCSA clearinghouse report. And they're like, I just need a body. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I will definitely do that for you, but I take no responsibility. You know what I mean? So, like I said, we meet people where they're at, but that's not what we try to, we try to coax them into doing what we think is ultimately going to be the best thing for them and for the driver.
Got it. So you said 50% is, you said like your 50-50 line haul, 50% last final mile. What else are you guys recruiting for?
Yeah. So the hot thing apparently right now that I wasn't even aware of, because we've been doing it for 5 years, is diesel mechanics. I mean, like I've had so many people calling me, asking me like, how do you hire diesel mechanics? And it's just kind of like leaves me a little bit flabbergasted, because we've just been doing it for 5 years consistently. So I didn't know that there was even this huge need or boom.
Problem or a shortage.
Yeah. So we do diesel mechanics. We also help hire operations managers. Something that's really interesting that people don't usually expect is we hire internal recruiters. So as part of consulting, I always try to do what's best for the client, whether that be using BrightFlag or not. So sometimes if carriers are over a certain amount of trucks, and they have the margins, I know what they're going to typically spend with me. And so sometimes it might make sense for them to hire a W-2 employee that can not only recruit, but do onboarding and do some other ancillary things. And we will train them just like we would a BrightFlag recruiter, and then put that recruiter into their organization as a W-2 employee of that company.
That's smart.
Yeah, and they really appreciate that. They're like, wait, you want to just
give us a recruiter?
Yeah,
you're
but
a
like,
recruiter?
Yeah, but
recruiter.
But why not? Because then, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've offered that. People have taken me up on it, and then I get these calls like, man, this has changed my life, and I'm spending so much less money, and I'm gonna tell my friend about you, and then they do, and then we get more, and it's just, I mean, it just is also cyclical in like a really great positive way. So I just always try to think of like, what would I want as a client, and how would I want a recruiting company to treat me? Because I feel like so many of them are just predatory in a lot of ways. And I feel like I could be a lot richer if I could have that mindset, but it's just not the way I'm built. Like I just want to do right and be right by people. So
right.
Yeah.
You said earlier that all of your recruiters are here, U.S., right? U.S. based.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about scaling and going offshore? If yes or no, why or why not?
No, and it's not because I don't want to support other countries, but I just feel like there's enough people in the US that really need jobs and they really need to support themselves. And we have such an interesting and eclectic group of recruiters. So I hire people that have incredible pedigrees that have recruited for 20 years. And then I hire women that are just coming back into the workforce that want an opportunity because maybe they put their kids first and they raise them and they want an opportunity to support themselves and add to their household income. I have girls that went to college. I have girls that didn't go to college. I have people that went to college in marketing, but they can't get a job because they don't have any experience. So then this like weird conundrum. And so they can come and work for me for a few years, get some corporate experience, and then go get whatever job they want. And so I love being able to give that to people here. The only thing that we're really specific about is hiring people that are all over the US so that they can relate to different people in certain areas. So like I'm from Louisiana and I know I'm going to talk to somebody completely different. I'm going to start my conversation with a big old who dat and go Saints and, you know, breezy forever and stuff like that. And we're just going to rap about, you know, the Saints for a while. But somebody from Louisiana would never know how to do that.
Right.
And so, and of course we got Alabama, Mississippi, and they're close enough by, so we can, you know, we can transcend into that. But if I have somebody in Boston, I know that they're going to communicate a lot better with somebody in New Jersey and Connecticut and Rhode Island. And they're not going to think my recruiter is a hick from down south, you know? And West Coast, they're going to vibe with the people, you know, in California out of Burbank. And they're going to be like, yeah, man, like, yeah, we'll get you a driver. It's all good. And I'm telling you, I have a recruiter right now in Nevada. And that's how
it's all good.
Every time she answers the phone, I'm like, hey, such and such. And she's like, hey, man, like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm great, girl. How are you? And she's like, I'm good, just so good. I'm like, you have great KPIs, so I'm not gonna mess with you.
Right.
But yeah,
keep on doing what you're doing. Right? Keep on being good.
Yep. So I just like to be able to hire people that are going to be able to relate to the areas that they're in. And I don't know how much of that I can get offshoring or nearshoring, but we do have like bilingual recruiters because we're in pockets like California and in New Mexico and Texas. And so those drivers, even though they can speak English, they don't feel super comfortable and confident. Maybe written's better for them. So having that bilingual recruiter and being able to post ads in Spanish really helps identify to them with their culture. And then they feel like somebody's kind of advocating for them. Yeah. So I feel like we can do all of that with US based recruiters. It's just, as my board of directors tell me, a lot more expensive, but I'm just going to keep holding on to it until I tell me I can't.
What was I going to ask? How many employees do you guys have now?
On the recruiter side, we have 45.
45 recruiters?
Yes. And then we have two.
All over the country?
Yeah, all over the country. Okay. Yeah, all remote.
All remote.
It was all built remote. Nice. I mean, I was training people in person in Georgia, but then we just started expanding and just opening it up to the U.S. And yeah, it's worked out really well. And this was before COVID. So that was kind of like my selling point was, I was like, we're remote. And people were like, this is amazing. And then COVID happened and everybody was around. I was like, dang it. It like took that was my edge.
Took your sauce.
Yeah. But then everybody had to start coming back. And I was like, excellent. Right. Sorry for the people who have to go back in the office. But then that gave me opportunity to get people that didn't want to go back in the office, that wanted to come and have, that space to be able to go pick up their kids if they have a doctor's appointment or go, see a soccer game early and then come back and finish their work late at night or work on a weekend if they had something going on during the weekday. Like we give them a lot of space to just, have complete trust until they give us a reason to not have it. So it's a really good culture.
Got it.
That we have.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned KPIs earlier with your girl in the West Coast. What are the kind of KPIs you guys are looking for as a recruiter? What's important to you?
Yeah. Touch points are really important. How many touch points they're having.
Expound on what touch points is for people who may not understand.
Absolutely. So I like to have 3 modes of communication. So obviously email is important for delegating long laundry lists of things that they got to get done. But just being really cognizant of texting and calling, like people are just really text heavy right now. So I want them to have reach outs on all 3, kind of like in that trifecta, and continue to reach out. Like if one works for one person, then just always having that communication flowing with them constantly throughout the hiring process. So how many times are they reaching out? What's the modes that they're reaching out? How effective are those modes? And because we can look at the demographics of those drivers, how old they are, the location, and who responds to what mode of communication better. So we can start to build, reporting around that and understand the demographics better and more intricately. The conversion rate, how long people are staying in each process and stages of recruiting. So like from the time that they talk to them and they're interested in the job, like how long does it take that person to fill out an application? And after they fill out the application, how long is the background check taking, or the MVR, or the drug test, or the DOT physical to be uploaded and approved? Like how long are each of those pieces taking in the process? So that conversion rate is really, really important to us, and how quickly can they get to that?
And each recruiter is responsible for that individual's candidate's entire process?
That's
or
right.
Does it get passed on to anybody else?
No, they completely own that client from start to finish.
Okay. Okay. Got it. All right. So as we talk about scaling and growing, what is on the roadmap for BrightFlag? What are you guys looking into for the end of the last couple quarters of this year and then first quarter next year? What's the plans?
I think we want to get a lot heavier on the carrier side and offering our recruiting services there. We have a couple of avenues that we've really been focused on in terms of how we want to obtain drivers. So one of those has been obviously getting more heavily involved with women in trucking.
Nice.
The other one is minorities in trucking. And then the other one is veterans in trucking. So, and specifically for minorities, a lot of people don't realize that you can pull from Puerto Rico. Like they are US citizens and their driving experience absolutely counts. And so you can bring people from Puerto Rico here for a very small fee and have a surplus of drivers that are going to have a much better quality of life here in the States, and they're already paying taxes, but here, I mean, in the states,
right?
Not Puerto Rico as a state or a country. But you can bring them here and they can get paid a whole lot more than they're getting paid down there. And it's
I'll do an exchange for one, like a foreign exchange. Like I'll go to Puerto Rico, they come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you go have some coconuts and they're out here driving the trucks.
Right, they can drive the truck, fair exchange, no robbery.
100%. No, but that's a whole untapped market that people just aren't aware of. That's one. Veterans, what a lot of people don't understand is that when they're driving Class A tractor trailer overseas, as long as that can be verified, that can count as driving experience. And like, why not hire people that have been fighting for our freedom and give those people jobs as soon as they come out? So working with companies like SkillsBridge, where you're helping veterans as they're transitioning out of active duty into civilian life, and being able to give them a job as soon as they come out, whether it be in an operations role or a diesel mechanic or a driver, like that's a really big push that we've been working towards. And then women in trucking, they don't make up a lot, the percentage of drivers. I think it's like 28% or maybe even lower. But just educating women on the fact that they can actually have a trucking job and not be away from their families. Like there are tons of local opportunities where they can make these really incredible livings, and they don't even know about it. They think that they have to be stuck into these other roles or be over the road away from their family, and they don't. So just like tapping into those markets and really trying to educate those people and bring them into what we do, and trying to find them jobs.
For sure. Driver pay has always been an issue. And you talked earlier about having like data that kind of talks about the driver pay in different areas. Mm-hmm. Is that any of that stuff available to the public that people can see, like to where they could understand like where they would fall, or just have an idea what their pay wages should be? Or is there any way you could point people to some different maybe platforms where they could find or do their own research and find that kind of information?
So we don't share with them like all of our data points, but for their specific market, that goes back to that market analysis. So that is free to you, to him. Like if you guys came to me and were like, hey, I'm in Jersey and I want to have, data on what it would cost or where I stack up against, people that are doing Class A solo, local runs. I would get all of that data for you and then present that with you and then go over those findings with you free of charge. So
because that would be a great way to recruit drivers, right? Like if they could understand what
you're talking about from the driver perspective. Oh yeah,
That's
okay.
Right. So if I'm a driver looking right now and I'm on the market, I'm a free agent, and I'm like, hey, I want to move to this particular area, but I don't know exactly what the driver, because it's different based on living wage and all that kind of stuff. Like, I want to know what the going rate is for a driver with my skill level, with my particular endorsements and so forth. If there's a way to know that, that'll be a good way to recruit.
I actually have a video that's coming out that we're in the works, that we're just finishing the copy on it, that's actually going to tell drivers how to advocate for better pay and how to know when they're deserving of better pay based on that market.
I love that.
And skill set, Yeah,
I think that's very important. It'll be very valuable. And it's a good lead generation tool for you guys as well. It's a value add, and it will, bring people more into the BrightFlag ecosystem.
Yeah, I really I set this off to be something that really pandered towards the clients, but I kind of feel it's like Field of Dreams. Like, if you build it, they will come. And not to be cliche, but I feel like if you offer really great advice and really great valuable information to these drivers to just help advocate for them,
right?
Then they're going to trust BrightFlag as a brand, and they're going to want to work with people that work with BrightFlag, because they're going to know that we're not just taking, any client off the street and just, kind of giving them lip service, like that. We are going to stand behind what these clients are offering and make sure that we're giving them, the whole truth. About
it should be fair.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's how you have longevity. Like, you can accept the job, and then when you realize you're not getting paid what you should be, you're not going to be there very long anyway. Right.
Yeah.
So if we cut through all that and we're more transparent up front, everybody wins, and that's the goal.
Yeah, I never understood how people operated on any other level. You know what I mean? Because you may get them in there, but then they don't stay, and then you're back at square one.
Yeah. And you're wasting everybody's time, energy, effort, money to start right over again. Yeah,
but I think the way that some of these models are done is that, you kind of get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. And so once that driver's in the seat, it's like, done.
Right.
So maybe there's just not enough skin in the game from, the outside, recruiting company to really do their due diligence to get the right person in the seat.
Yeah, I got it. How do you guys, and we've talked about this, but maybe there's some additional items. How are you standing out and separating yourself, or how are you standing out from other recruiting agencies out there?
I think by just offering free information that's valuable. So the market analysis has been a really huge hit. We've always done that. The second biggest thing that we've done lately is called the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. So that's been around, I think, since the 90s. And what that does is it helps people that it gives you a government subsidy if you hire people from certain brackets. So there's about 10 different distinguishers. Some of them you won't be able to hire just because of background check limitations. Like, some of them are for, if you hire convicted felons, which we all know is kind of a hard thing to work past. They have to be a certain amount of time out, 10 years out from anything on their background.
Right.
But there's other ones, if you hire a veteran, you can actually get up to $3,000 back annually per driver that you hire just for them being a veteran. And then if they're a veteran that's been disabled, and not just physically disabled, but maybe they have PTSD, then you get even more money back because you're hiring a veteran that has PTSD. And the idea of it all is to kind of take the burden off of the government that's subsidizing these people's income and giving them jobs. So by doing that, they're rewarding you as the client for hiring these people, because then there's not that much money being extrapolated from the government. Because you're subsidizing that as hiring them. And so other things are impoverished empowerment zones. So I'm from Louisiana. It's a very impoverished area, one of the lowest, national incomes. And so hiring people from Louisiana, or parts of Florida, or parts of remote Pennsylvania, there's all these different pockets. But if you hire people from certain cities, then they actually qualify. And they can hit multiple buckets. You can have somebody from an empowerment zone that was a veteran that was disabled, and the more boxes they check, the more money you get back. And so what we do is we have those identifiers out there to everybody we're vetting. within the legal parameters of being able to ask that and not get in trouble.
Right.
So we present these questions to them, and if they check yes, then we complete this application for them and submit it to the right government agency. So we do all the legwork because it has to be submitted within a certain time frame of them starting for your organization. And then at the end of the year, we report which drivers met that criteria. And then you run that against how many hours that they worked for your company with your CPA, and then you present that. And you get that money back, and that helps subsidize your recruiting costs or operational costs. And you're helping people that need help the most because, another one is government subsidies. So if they've ever been on like WIC or food stamps or government housing or got, a cricket phone from the government, any of those people actually count as well. And so that's just a way for you to kind of help those people help themselves. And then you're also getting that kickback. So that's something that we offer as a free additional service to what BrightFlag does.
Got it. No, that's interesting. Very interesting. Who are you most interested in getting this message out to? Are you looking for drivers? Are you looking for recruiters? Are you looking for more clients? I'm sure all. But what is prime? Like, what's the top? What's most important to you? Like, in terms of your messaging and who you want to speak to.
The drivers.
The drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the approach that's always been the nearest to my heart. And those are the people that I feel like need the most advocating for, because they're the people. And I know a lot of clients are going to hate this, but I actually kind of like the turn of events that's been happening lately with the drivers kind of having the upper hand to be able to ask for this like exorbitant amount of pay and sign-on bonuses, because for so long, they were kept in these
and yellow and all the different stripes. And
I'm for it.
For
I'm for it. I mean, I think that people should be able to get what they're worth. And if you have a group of people that are all having to work for 31 cents a mile and they've been driving for 10 years and they're only getting up 2 more cents extra every year, I don't think that's right. And so the fact that now e-commerce with COVID has kind of pushed us into the future by 20 years. And now everybody realized they need people to move this freight because brick and mortars are closing, and you got these Temus and Wayfairs and Amazon just booming and bustling. I think it's great that they need these drivers. And now the drivers don't really need them because it's kind of a driver's market. So it kind of goes back to how we've always been positioning ourselves with the drivers, which is to hear what they want. Now, some of them will come with some astronomical requests, and I'll be like, dude, you're living on a different planet and I can't help you because I'm not a fairy godmother.
Right.
So you're gonna have to go somewhere else. But some of them have like some really just, very basic human requests where like they just want to feel like they are humanized and that they're not just out there ripping and running to make you money, but they're also, adding, and they're winning and you're winning. And so they want to feel a part of something like that. And I love connecting them with that. So I think drivers, number one. And then also, obviously, the clients, because if I don't got the clients for the drivers, then
that's right.
They won't
chicken
care how much.
Right?
Yeah, chicken egg. They won't care how much I care about them because I'm not going to be able to give them any money.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. But definitely the drivers. I mean, it's always been about them for me. And, yeah. So
okay.
Give us a call.
Do you have any fears of autonomous? And what are your thoughts about that? And how are you building protection around your business as we move into the future?
So I will never believe that. Are you talking about autonomous vehicles or
autonomous vehicles and driverless trucks and these things that they're saying in the next 10 years we'll be taking drivers' jobs and so forth? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's going to happen. I don't think there's anything we can do to fight against it. But I think that you will always need the human touch in some perspective. So there's always going to be opportunities for those people to move into other roles. What that looks like, I couldn't speculate, but I am for the AI. I am for a lot of the things that are being created because it helps on the back end processing to make our jobs more efficient as recruiters. But I think where people are kind of missing the mark is they're trying to do it for everything from those initial touch points. Like if someone applies for a job, you're getting a bot that you think, they think sounds like a person, but it's not. It's not a human on the phone picking up and saying like, hey, Brad, I just saw you apply on Indeed or, through Truck Driver USA or whatever. Tell me about why you applied and what you're looking for. What made you click this button? You can't replace that with bots. You can't replace that with knockout questions. That can definitely serve a purpose, and we definitely utilize that in the back end piece of our process. But the human, when drivers write reviews where they talk about how they can pick up the phone and speak to a person in real time that can help them navigate and mitigate an issue that they're having, that's where we win. And so, although I'm for it on the efficiency side, I don't think it's going to completely replace humans until
in the actual vehicle.
Until the
drivers
drivers actually go away. But I do think, I don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime, but I think it's definitely coming.
I think a lot has to change just in terms of infrastructure and everything. I mean, it's one thing to just, go in a straight line, but then when you talk about going into some of these, cities and, under bridges and some of these backing areas, it's like a computer is going to like go crazy trying to figure all that out.
I think it'll happen more with I think it'll happen faster with OTR than it would with Final Mile.
For sure. Final Mile is the last place where that's
I really do,
happen.
just because of just the tumultuousness and physicality of it.
Right.
Because they've been doing, like Amazon's been doing it with drones, and they've been doing it with those robots that come out of the truck and then like go to the door and you put in a code and it opens up, kind of like the lockers. And I don't think it's gone well. And with just the amount of freight from that Final Mile piece of it, I think that's going to be the last to go. I think they could probably autonomize, or they can have more autonomy faster with line haul than I think they can. But I think it's probably going to start local. They'll see how that goes, and then it's going to expand into OTR or regional, and then OTR. But
it's going to take some time.
100%.
100 years.
I don't know if it's going to be 100
50
years. I mean, Elon, he's doing some crazy stuff. So, I mean, we might see
Elon's going to be boxing with Mark Zuckerberg soon, I heard. I think he's more interested in getting in the ring than changing the world at this point.
I don't know how he's going to fare. I mean,
Mark is all right.
Yeah.
He's
My
been
sons do
working out.
jujitsu, and their ground game is pretty strong.
Do you know Mike Musume, I think his name is, the kid that Mark Zuckerberg trains?
No.
I think his name is Michael Musume, but he looks like a nerd, right? And I'm not trying to be like offensive to anybody, but like he looks like a little geek, like punk. But if you get in the ring with this kid, like he will tear you up.
That's
you know
the
what
crazy
I mean?
thing about jujitsu, man.
He will break every bone in your body, and all he does is smile, and he's so happy. But it's like this kid is a beast.
Yeah.
Like you really cannot judge a book by its cover.
You can't.
I
go into my son's jujitsu gym. He goes to a place called Kenny Kim. He's a really, really great guy. And the people that are in there, like, no offense, but they look like they're computer programmers. And you're like, and then you're looking at their belt, and then you're just watching them slam somebody with just such ease, and they're just not even like breaking a sweat. And you're like, oh my gosh, like if I was out in the street and like I tried to punch that person, I'd like freaking break my arm off, and you just would never even know.
You would never know.
It's so incognito, which I kind of like,
It is. It's good because it makes you think twice, right? Like everybody, some people out there are bullies and they want to just pick on people because of how they look. But nowadays you can't do that, man. People know some stuff.
I know.
You might be pleasantly surprised.
And I also, Mark Zuckerberg has like some, he's got some youth on his side.
He does.
Elon, with all the marijuana smoking and stuff, he might not have the stamina. I'm
definitely team Zuck for sure. I'm putting my money on Zuckerberg if they ever get in the ring.
If I had to say who I like better, I'm gonna say Elon. But
do you like Elon better?
I do. I love him. I just think he's genius. I love him.
No, he's a genius, but he's kind of like a douchey type of genius. Like his attitude is kind of just like he just does things like to just piss people off to me on purpose, and I'm just like, okay, I get it. Like he just like tries to overcompensate to me.
Yeah.
Like we get it. You're cool, dude. We know. Like he just wants to just be this cool. Like he wants to be like Iron Man or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like living out this Robert Downey Jr. like version of himself who he really isn't. That's what he's giving to me, as the kids say, giving,
I get that.
He's not being his genuine self.
But I like that for him because I feel like maybe his whole life he was kind of like that nerd and that misunderstood. So like this is like his time to peacock, like he's shining, and maybe he doesn't know the best way to do it, because he doesn't have like a personality coach or somebody behind him being like, hey, like that's socially awkward or unacceptable, but he's just like marching to the beat of his own drum, whether it works or not. And on some level, I kind of respect that because it seems freeing, but he's also got the FU money. So
he does. And I would say
you can kind of be free like that.
He's definitely like the most, I would say like the best entrepreneur of this era for sure. I mean, he started $3 billion businesses, SpaceX. Yeah. He was part of PayPal.
PayPal. That
boring company.
Yeah.
Now, what's the last one he did? Tesla. Now he's got Twitter. Like no one is doing what Elon did.
No.
It's kind of crazy. So we got to give him his props.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah. And I feel like, I don't know, Mark's just kind of like wormy too. You know what I mean? He's just like, Mark's not around. Plus, I don't like what he did to those brothers in Harvard.
Oh, that was kind of dirty.
Like that like
the Hagglesnoff twins or whatever they were called.
Hagglesnoff? Oh, that was like a Harry Potter reference. I think they were like Winklevoss.
Winklevoss, there you go. Hagglesnoff, same Voss. The Voss twins. They're all right. They got a lot of money too, though. They're good. It made it look bad in the movie, but they're like billionaires too. They're fine.
I know. I can't feel too bad for
Yeah,
them
it
as they're out there rowing crew.
Yeah, they're rowing their boat.
Beautiful, like Stepford wives, you know. And
hair blowing in the wind.
Yes.
We're gonna get you, Mark. We're gonna find you.
I'm surprised they didn't double team them. Just like
beat him down.
Yeah.
That's what they should have did, is beat him down.
That's what I would have done if I was a guy. But
For sure.
I'm a woman.
Who do you look up to in business?
Oh man. I would have Elon is one of them.
Elon, okay.
And I don't want to like be too cliche, but I really I don't want to say it because I feel like it's super controversial. But I really love Kevin OLeary.
Kevin OLeary? From Shark Tank?
Yes. I'm like, I don't want to say it. But I'm
so we had Damon John from Shark Tank on the show.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Well, Kevin OLeary is going to be the keynote speaker at the Route Consultant event that I'm going to in Vegas. Okay. And I have called so many people to see if like anybody can just like get me like a photo op. Like,
Mr. Wonderful.
But he's not so wonderful because he won't do it. And but like I have like fangirled for him.
Why are you embarrassed to like Kevin OLeary? He's a good person.
Because he's so like, I mean, for a lot of people, he's just so like unpalatable. But I just like love his like posture. Like I'm almost kind of like the same thing about Elon. Like they just say and do what they want to do.
You like the badasses.
Yeah. And
That's
I just feel like if you can just have the freedom to just be like unapologetically you always and just be like, no, I don't like that, or yes, I like that, or no, that's stupid. Right. And be able to say that with like such confidence. I mean, but then also have like just the background to be able to back up all of your intelligence. I mean, I live for that, and I respect it, and I wish I could emulate that on some levels. But
I think that's the key is you got to be able to back it up.
Yeah,
and that's what they're able to do. They could back it up. They could talk all the junk they want because they could back it up.
I'm so diplomat. I'm such a Switzerland. You know what I mean? So like when I see people possess that, I'm like, oh. Yeah. I wish I had that. I wish I could be that, you know? But I know. But yeah, he's just like, I mean, Shark Tank. I mean, if you could like pick anybody, I'm like, I like Kevin OLeary. Elon Musk.
I would have thought maybe Barbara, you know what I mean?
I like Lori.
Lori's cool.
Actually, Barbara's pretty amazing.
They're all really cool.
Her story is really cool. She got left by her husband, and he told her she would never be anything. And so she's started
real estate too, right?
She started the largest real estate company in New York and like grossed like $300 million in like the first year, and like
crazy.
To her ex-husband, I was like, yes.
Crazy.
Do it, boss.
Yeah, for sure.
Like she's amazing.
No, that's big.
There's just something about the persona of
soon
Kevin OLeary.
Soon somebody, if not already, somebody will be naming you as their person to look up to.
Oh gosh, I don't even know how to handle that. I'd probably dismiss it.
So and maybe already. You never know. I'm sure there's people who look at you like, yeah, Tony's pretty cool. I like how Toni just goes in a room and she just says what she wants to say. She does her thing. She don't care. They're probably having that conversation right now. Oh, you never know.
Really kind to say.
Hey, that's what I say. Kind things. That's what I'm here for.
I like it
for sure.
I don't even know if you're joking, but I'm smiling and I'm absorbing and I'm
dead serious. I'm keeping it real. All right, cool. So all right. So I think we covered a lot. Did we miss anything about BrightFlag that you feel needs to be put out there to the audience?
Yeah, just use us. No, but if you are wanting some help in understanding your market, like utilize us as a free resource. We're happy to do that for you. It doesn't matter if you plan on ever using us as a service provider. We're just happy to be that resource for you. And for drivers, if you're looking for someone who is going to be honest and advocate for you on just a level that you've probably never felt before from a recruiting agency, then definitely give us a call because we're here for you.
I love that. So traditionally, that was a good closing, but we still have to get a final thought from you, right? So
Lord.
Before we end the show, we have to, number one, learn where people can connect with you directly.
Sure.
And learn more about BrightFlag.
Yeah.
And then we have to get our final thought. So our final thought is something spiritual, entrepreneurial, whatever you want to leave our audience with, just like a golden nugget, and then we'll get out of here. So let's start with where they can connect with you.
Yeah, that's a tall order. It's a lot for 6:30 at night. Okay, so you can connect with me. We have a Facebook page. You can go to BrightFlagRecruiting.com. My email is Toni Tovi at BrightFlagRecruiting.com. So it's TONI, V as in Victor, at BrightFlagRecruiting.com. And then you can always just call me. I have a work number that's on our website, but if you want to call me personally, you can do that as well. It's 404. That's right. I got the 404.
Nice.
991-1280. And if you are not from Atlanta, then you don't know. But if you know, then you know. But I wish it was a 504 because I don't claim Atlanta. But yeah, so yeah, those are the different ways. We have an Instagram. It's not that great. We could do a lot more with that. But yeah, our Facebook and our website is predominantly. We have some videos on YouTube that we produce. So, and some more to come on that. But in terms of a final thought.
Toni.
What I would leave.
Close us out. Close us out strong.
Ooh, let's just close it in prayer. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll bow our heads. Toni's going to close us out.
Dear universe. I would just say do unto others. I think if you can always be the kind of company that can offer value to people without expecting something in return, it's going to come back on you tenfold. And that is what we have practiced. That is what we have preached. And that is how we've been able to grow. And so if there's any advice that I can give people is just be the light and be the right person that you want people to be to you, to others. And it just comes. You get blessed in ways that you don't even know. And it comes organically and it comes swiftly. So just to always try to be that way. And, don't always be paper chasing. It's not always about that. That stuff comes if you do things right. So that would be my biggest advice.
And if you can't respect that, your whole perspective is whack. Hustle fam, this has been another amazing episode. I had fun talking today, Toni.
I did too.
This was cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I wish you guys the best. Seems like a really, really great company. I'm going to be watching as you guys continue to grow and also sending some people your way. Tell them to come check you out.
Yeah.
It's about that time, Hustle fam. If you smell something burning, it is only a desire. Myself, Toni Tovi from BrightFlag, we are
If you twisted, confused, or stuck about trucks, don't be dumb. This is the place to come. Truck and hustle. Let's go.